Right, good evening, everyone. It's good to see so many people here. So, well, first of all, before I run right into the presentation, David mentioned earlier that I used to be with the insurance division, which do what you would say monitoring of the institutions that insure you or that act in an insurance capacity on your behalf. Since taking on this new role in enforcement, this is one of the few opportunities I get to smile, because normally when I'm talking to the institutions, because I'm the enforcer, I have a totally different persona. But I want to point out a couple of reminders. Some of my colleagues before would have mentioned it. We regulate, supervise, and monitor institutions in private pensions, insurance, and the securities industry. So before you, I know a lot of persons here have concern with banks and the rates that the banks charge and the fees and the interest rates. A little bit of sad news, we are not responsible for commercial banking institutions. So Richard would have mentioned some of the dealers, some of the investment houses that do give, and this is a matter of fact that they give better rates. But one of the first things we encourage anybody to do before you invest in anything is check if that entity is registered with the FSC. The other thing is, if somebody is offering you investment and they're not registered with the FSC, then you give me a call. Call me in enforcement and say, Cosmo, this man promising me some returns on my money, and I don't see him on your listing. So you can check the FSC website. You'll get a list of our licensees and registrants, or you can just call in. Or if you so desire, you can just walk into the FSC any day. Our doors are always open to the public. And in those groups of licensees and registrants, we have a lot of people here asking about investment advice. And where should I put my money? How much money I would need to get this sort of return? We have licensed investment advisors and dealer representatives that are, these persons have the expertise, as well as we have a process at the FSC that we call fit and proper. So we do background checks on them, and we continuously do it, which is a little different from the partner or the partner plans or the partnership arrangement. Yes, you may know the person, but then there are things that that person may be doing, as particularly your banker, that you may not know about. The FSC has what we call an ongoing fit and proper assessment, where we constantly check. We check on their employment records, we check on their financial history, and we make sure that they're not being convicted of anything regarding dishonesty or improper conduct as it relates to dealing with public funds. Now, as you can see from the start of my slide, I hope everybody can see, but I have a consumer protection umbrella. Investigation and enforcement for the FSC, and that's where our complaints coordinator resides, is definitely the consumer protection arm. So I heard somebody mention before that they put some money in an institution, they took 200,000, and then over 500,000 gone. If that institution is registered with the FSC, your recourse, after you speak to them, you complain about the process or what exactly happened, then you have a direct line to the FSC, and we are mandated, as in we have to act on your complaint. So we have to find out exactly what happened to your money, what did they tell you, what kind of documentation they gave you. I know a lot of people don't like the address verification, and sometimes you think that, boy, they're asking you too much question, but that's something that they have to present to us when we go in to say, do you have on file your current, you know your customers, you know where they live, you know where they work, so you can't say, oh, I was trying to give them back their money, but we can't find them. So they can't give us that excuse. Also, that helps with keeping criminal proceeds outside of the system. So they should know where you come from, where you get the money, and these are standards that they have to abide by once they have registration status or license from the FSC. So we're going to look at the FSC Act, Section 6 particularly, because that is really what empowers us to do what we do. So it gives us the right to walk into these institutions. So sometimes you may do business with them. They are supposed to give you the information, but say for whatever reason they don't. We have the authority to walk in on your behalf, take up whatever document, and explain to you, and we also have the authority to direct them to give you the required information or to compensate you where they would have caused you to lose based on conduct or based on them breaking the law. We're going to talk about the role of the Investigation and Enforcement Division. We started a little bit about it. I'm just going to give you a little bit of summary regarding enforcement actions which we take against these institutions. And then we'll go into, I have a different description for this part, which is a very important aspect of the FSC, the complaints handling process. So Section 6 of the FSC Act mandates us to promote stability, confidence in the operations. Now, we can't promote stability and confidence if we don't make sure that these people are doing what they're supposed to do. The securities sector is big on disclosure, so they can't give you half of the information or part of the information. They have to demonstrate to us that they have given you the full information regarding any product or any service that you would have required from them. And we also make sure that they are performing and maintaining appropriate standards. If they are not, we can go in, we can suspend their license, we can cancel them, we can give them directives. I know Richard mentioned before, like it's a child that you have and you can give them warning or a slap on the wrist or a full-out belting. Well, so that's what the division for enforcement and investigation, we carry out those duties on behalf of the FSC. I'm not sure if everybody is seeing this, so I'll read it to you. This is what we don't want. This is what we try to prevent. And this is what, if happens, we wanted to report to the FSC. You can see where one boss is saying to his employee, well, a good customer service is rare. So when something is rare, it's valuable. And if it's valuable, then it means it's expensive. And so their objective is to provide bad customer service because then it's their way of making things cheaper for their customers. That's what we don't want. That's what, if that happens, then you call FSC, you call the complaints coordinator. You can call, you can write. Come on, I'll give you more details on that. And you can just walk in. So the role, what the Investigation and Enforcement Division does on a day-to-day basis, as the name suggests, we investigate. And we investigate what I mentioned before, individuals that are supposed to be interfacing with you, people taking your money and people running these companies. We check them to make sure that they're fit and proper. And these standards we check against the law, whatever legislation we have. Like, for example, I can give you the securities legislation requires these people that are investment advisors and dealer representatives or dealers to have some amount of education, certification before they can work in that industry. So they can't, the person should not be there and they're just guessing. As in, this is something that they should have studied, they should have demonstrated that they have this required competence. We do also investigate breaches. And one part of this is from our monitoring arms of the FSC. Two of my colleagues were here before from the pensions monitoring arm and securities monitoring. When they go in, they choose entities to visit each year. And so they go in and they check their systems, they check I know a lot of you will be interested in their clients' accounts, they check on what exactly is happening. When they discover breaches, then they refer to investigation and enforcement. We investigate and we refer it back to them and recommend enforcement action. Another important way we discover breaches is from complaints. Complaints from, you're dealing with an institution, and then they present to you a situation that causes you to lose out, and you report that to the FSC and don't realize, and we say, hold on, these people are operating outside of the law, and then we also take enforcement action. As I said, we process complaints and we do a lot of collaboration because, as Richard said, we exist in a global space. And for example, I can tell you one of the special projects that we work on as well is the anti-money laundering effort, counter-financing of terrorism, which is a global effort. And so we make sure that as it relates to our licensees, that they are operating in a manner that deters criminal proceeds from coming into the system. Just to give you a layout of the Investigation and Enforcement Division. At the top of it, you see where we have the Senior Director. Below that, the Chief Investigator, which 3 Senior Investigators report to. And then you have 3 investigators, an assistant investigator, admin assistant, and the complaints coordinator, who is here with us today. A few enforcement actions to take note of. And so this is for insurance, people who carry on business as an insurance intermediary, so somebody who would collect your money and say they are going to an insurance company without being duly registered. You have a fine there of $200,000. Intermediary registration can be canceled for delay in the settlement or payment of claim. This is an area that the bulk of our complaints come from this area, but yet still we would recognize that a lot of people are not aware that when you enter into an insurance contract and you have proof that you are now experiencing a loss, if that insurer or intermediary deliberately delays the settlement or the payment of your claim, they have also committed an offense and are able to face penalties. For pensions as well, if you pay over your contribution and that organization or institution fails to pay it over as well, then they would have breached, and that's covered under Section 53, and they're liable for a fine as well. Major shareholders and directors, people that deal with the public directly for the securities industry, must be fit and proper. And if they're not fit and proper, the entity that has them operating, we may direct them to remove the officers, or we may suspend the license. Now, just before I hand over to Kamoy for the complaints process, because she will tell you exactly what happens when you have a complaint in the areas, as I mentioned before, private pensions, securities, and insurance. She'll give you the details of how that process works. Richard would have mentioned collective investment schemes. These are schemes, or you'd say products, that pool the funds together. So all of us in this room wanted to purchase all the real estate in Savlamar. Individually, we couldn't do it. So they pool the funds, and then they purchase different securities or they invest the money differently on our behalf. And so it's a collection of individuals. I know we would have mentioned that there is a lot of charges and then the taxes that come out of your interest from the bank. The difference, though, when you look at you saving yourself or putting down the money under your bed or in a hole, as opposed to a pension plan, the pension plan has certain tax benefits that no other entities that save your money would be entitled to. So they have tax benefits that you can't beat those tax benefits if you were to keep that money to put down for retirement. And because when the plan invests the money on your behalf, then, all right, then they are entitled to some benefits that the individual wouldn't get.